Hello, and what is up? I am happy to join you again today to discuss more of this project, a glimpse into what it would be like this idea for Chrono Break that I had a couple years ago could come true. I think the first video was published in 2020, so I probably started working on this in 2018. But it's come a long way, and I will give you a tour. First off, we have music by Flovey. This was a song created by a sound font made, the Chrono Trigger sound font. The original channel is on the description, but so this song encapsulates the essence of what we're going for because it's built on pieces of the original and gives us something that completely reminiscent. It's got the DNA of Chrono Trigger. This song came from the sound font. And by sound font, I didn't look it up or anything, but I guess it means like only sounds from that particular thing that used. But we're going with that definition for this. So Flovey made a song from the sound font of Chrono Trigger. So we're going to make a game from all kinds of fonts of Chrono Trigger. That would be our theory. That would be our ideal scenario. First step to making this game in a legal capacity would be to just break down every element, get every sprite, every background, every sound, and start remixing it. That way, we know that we're not going to veer into the realm of messing up the original if you just keep it based on the original. In other news, we are totally ready to release Piozo's Stake to the public. And I'm about to play the first time here, but first, what is Piozo's Stake? That is a question that I would like to best answer by examining this file. This is our plans for the day, and those plans include addressing these issues. Oh, what is Piozo's Stake? It is a remix, 3 songs. I call it a Chrono Trigger triple techno. And it's gonna have these major points. See, actually, it really focuses on these major points. It's about map traversal. So, when you think about a new generation, not only of Chrono Trigger, but just of video games in general, a revolution of video games, please imagine it would begin with something that looks like this. Okay, well, the truth is that that one is pretty much done now. We want to change I think we're gonna. So this shot we did yesterday of Frog, I don't know if it fits the vibe correctly. It would be this shot. So we got our first trip through 700. This is sort of in the tutorial opening chapter. Okay, now this is the shot I'm not sure about. It might be appropriate for something, but I don't know if we're going to keep that shot. And then also there's some stuff last night that we might incorporate. So final upload is tomorrow, but for the most part, this also shows two parties who are going to go to different places. Okay, here's party 1, party 2. This has our Chrono with Nadia and Robo. And this is Frog, old Chrono, and who comes from the Dalton Corrupted timeline, and Custer. So, and Luca's staying back. And so they're both going to go to Robot Village, but one of them is going to go to Robot Village in 1999, and one's going to go in 2300, which there we go. And I still might change the color of the sky. The sky might not be this nice in 2300. But I want to point out the two different kind of the fun of going to two locations in this to the same location in two different timelines, which we've done before, but as a Colosseum style, you could fight different foes in the Colosseum based on the time period. Okay, so these guys are not in. This is the other party. They went to 1999. They went to an ISO space time, which there's only 3. At any rate, let's say that they don't like what's going on here, okay? They are getting pwned by these beetles, for instance. All right, so they're getting pwned, they're getting pwned, they're getting pwned. And then they're like, we want to get out of here. Well, you know who can help them out. Okay, so she does her thing. And then, like, before you know it, they are I messed up. So she was supposed to do the warp. I forgot to cut that in. And then they end up here. Now they're at 1999 Robot Village. So you got $2,300 Robot Village with the top party, and then 1999 Robot Village with the bottom party. And that brings me back to some of the notes that we had. There were more maps on here, right? Or, oh yeah, so basically, hopefully that video that I just showed gave a good breakdown of what it would be like to play arcade style RPG. Arcade RPG could be a good way to describe it. When RPG meets... What's going on with this background? Ooh, yow. Do that. Sure. All right, let's talk about these for a while. Arcade style presentation means that arcade RPG. So you level up quickly. It's almost like beat 'em up meets RPG, but skewed on the side of RPG. And you would have lots of encounters where there's guests fighting alongside you. Because, you know, you want to maintain focus. This game is about a select few characters. Let's talk about the character composition. So we have a very select crew that's joining for this outing. There's only a few additions to the original cast. You've got Chrono, the original 6, plus Magus, the original 7. Surge, Kid, Shala, Cyrus. So you bring in the 2 from Chrono Cross, and then you give the 2 from Chrono Trigger that seemed like likely extensions of... You know what I'm saying. And then we have only 3 variants. By the way, if you want to know... This is a Piozo. Piozo Dance and Piozo Ice Steak come from this. And those are the 2 mixes on the YouTube channel. Okay, anyway. Then you have 3 variants. Let's talk about the 3 variants. First of all, we got a Luca who came from an alternate Chrono Trigger world where after her mom's accident, her dad went really neglectful and she wandered into town and started training up with Neustein. She started training up with this lunatic who has connections to Biggs and Wedge of the Final Fantasy VI universe. So that's our variant, Luca, and it comes from this picture. I didn't make this one up. It came from this. I just thought this picture was amazing, such a cool idea. So, let's see. I think there's actually some notes. Let's read what happens to her. We'll do a whole episode on Luca later. All the kinds of Luca, which there's only 2. Like I said, we don't want to get too many characters in here. We just got the classics plus some variants. So we got the Luca variant and got the Chrono variant. And he comes from a post-apocalyptic zone where the Day of Lavos happened way before he was born. Okay, and that's from the Dalton Corrupted timeline. His squad calls him the Steel Shade, although he's not confirmed to be the same Steel Shade from what we were talking about from Chrono Trigger DS. Alright, and then the final one is the Demon King. And this one's pretty interesting because this one is like so in Chrono Trigger, you go to see Lithosphere report. You guys know it. Lithosphere report 27. It shows the end of the world. And this is the whole, this is the thing, this is the video that starts everything going. Okay? And so, you know, Chrono and the other two witness the end of the world. And then they fix it. But this Lithosphere Report 27 is actually showing the timeline that they were on until they decided to fix it, which would have been... And it's the one you actually start Chrono Trigger in. In Chrono Trigger, you cross from Dimension 1, which would be like... At the end of Chrono Trigger, it's called the Keystone Timeline. That's the one that we played through. We did Keystone Timeline, where Chrono Trigger saves the day. However, the original timeline also included a scenario where Magus summoned Labos and then presumably died right after that. So we're saying that maybe you could recruit Magus from that timeline, and then you would have like, whereas our Magus in Chrono Trigger, you know, kind of like gelled with the party, became more sociable, at least to the point of traveling with them. This one, you could really lean into the scary Magus that we're introduced to before we actually meet him. And this would be like rescuing the guy who got killed by Lavos after he summoned him from Dimension Prime. So you're actually going into the timeline that Chrono Trigger starts on to rescue this guy. And so he would be the variant of Magus. That's what our squad, that's what our character list is comprised of, for the most part. Let's see, let's get back to that. Those are the three variants. Alright, but then, on the other hand, you have, you know, Chrono Cross has so many different characters. So how can you have only, let's see, how many characters do we have? How can you have only, let's say Chrono Cross had like 40, something like that. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14. So that's pretty good. However, we're going to add one more component. We're going to look at who was in the background of Chrono Trigger the whole time. Who have we been next to since almost the very beginning? At least every time we go back to prehistory. And that is totally these guys. They've been there the whole time. Just standing next to us. Able-bodied fighters. Just ready to join in. And so that's why I thought if you're going to have a bunch of characters, but also only have a few characters, you should make, 18 of the characters essentially the same as Ayla. Just have her be many, many characters. You don't have to add a lot of crazy dialogue. You don't have to make them all too personalized. They all just kind of do what she does because she's the leader of the tribe. With an asterisk next to that. With an asterisk. So I would like to now talk about, they basically got they got their names from many of the Iuka and Laruba's names come from a list of unused characters in Final Fantasy VI. I know for a fact we have like a lot more. Okay. I want you to notice in this particular one that Shala's got a Lavos thing in her tag. I don't know if I love how that looks completely, but that is related to what we were talking about last time, where you might get into summoning. Summoning was not touched on in Chrono Trigger, and it was in Chrono Cross. They had some pretty wild summons in Chrono Cross. Like what's this? Let's not forget there was a weird extra outer space component of Chrono Cross that until this point I have not really thought about, and I'll probably continue not thinking about too much. But so we got to think in Chrono Trigger who would be summonable. And so I thought, all right, well, who's already been summoned? And the only one there is Lavos. Lavos has been summoned one time, several times actually. So then I thought, okay, who in the party would be able to summon Lavos if he was a summonable monster? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to have like, you know, a Lavos on the map doing work for you. If there's so many different ones, since timelines are like all subjective and all that stuff, I forget how they say it. But in this one, there'd be a lot of Lavos spawn, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to think that maybe you could summon Lavos to fight for you. All right. Here is a project that I wanted to do. Up here, we have a piece of artwork by Garman. G-A. Here we go. All right. So we are going to hang this in the bar. I think I want to hang it over here, but it's in the way of the plates. I think that looks good, right? All right, but it doesn't quite look perfect because you see the trees here. It's like over the tree. So we're gonna have to do something about that. In the meantime, back to this. We were working on this yesterday too. Still not sure totally what to put here. But once again, I would like to express how enthusiastically excited I would be to explore El Nido in the Middle Ages. What would it be like? And then we got all these. Every time you do a tech, you gotta have one of these little mini things. So we do have a photo booth set up. But I will get back to that in a second. Right now, there's one more thing we need to talk about, which is the Einlanzer. So there will be 2 Einlanzers out there. And this is an interesting thing, is that the Einlanzer All right. In Chrono Cross, you use the tier of love and the tier of hate. I'm not sure what it was. I think that's it. And you mushed them together to make the Chrono Cross. And what made the Chrono Cross was the fact that it was 2 items. It was the same item from 2 different dimensions. So that got me thinking, what other things are out there that are from 2 different dimensions? And so that brought me to the key item function, which is like, if you have 2 Einlansers, or if you have 2 pendants, and there might be other stuff, but if you have 2 of anything in your inventory and you smush them together or combine them, then you could get a Chrono Cross, which would take you to the darkness beyond time. All right, let's think about it like you got 2 maps. First, I guess I should explain like the vision for all right. Let's say you got okay, this is dimension 1. And here's dimension 2. And they're essentially just 2 different maps. Like you have your map. Like here's your map. You're on the world map. I did this way wrong the first time. Okay, so you have an overworld and you can explore it. But if you have an astral amulet in your inventory, then you can flip over to another world, designation 2, which it's not gonna, on a procedurally generated map, you could have, it's an arbitrary difference whether or not you flip into a so-called other dimension and the map is different, or you just go to a different part of the map. That's the important thing to get here, is that on an infinite procedurally generated Legend of Zelda Chrono Trigger style overworld, you could just, it's like having 2 different desktops on your MacBook. You press a button and it goes to a different desktop. That's what flipping dimensions would be like in this game. So you just flip over. Here you are. You have an astral amulet. You can flip. Oops. It's actually kind of complicated. How about that? Is that a flip? There we go. We flip back to, oh, now I got it. Oh yeah, baby, you can't hold me down for long. Okay, so you have an astral amulet in your inventory. Ah, you can hold me down for long. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I got this. There we go. Hey, that should be on there. There we go. Oh, flip. I've got an astral amulet, so I'm just going to a different map. Flip. Flip. No problem, right? It doesn't matter. It's just the most infinite 16-bit map you ever saw in your life. You want to call it another world on the other side, be my guest, but it's just a different part of the map. Not including ways that they can influence each other, which is the reason for having it, and we'll talk about that later. However, there's another place known as the darkness beyond time. And if you want to get there, you're going to need a Chrono Cross. So you can smush together two Einlansers or two pendants and go straight to the darkness beyond time. Okay, a bit of a sidetrack there. A bit of a sidetrack. But that is what we're going with. And the final thing, let's see, we had our notes, right? What do our notes say? Okay, we talked about game mechanics, cutting room floor. That's where we got a lot of the names and ideas, was from stuff that did not get used in Chrono Trigger. So that's why the home base is called Breakwave Point, and that's why there was something else that came up earlier. Oh, Robot Village. Robot Village is an unused name. So let's not forget that we're not trying to add anything specifically to the Chrono mythology in Act 3. We're simply synthesizing pieces that were already out there and trying to weave them into a great conclusion that's super gameplay heavy. That is our plan. So that's why we've used a lot of all kinds of unused location names and beta test footage that was released. This is all like solid gold to us because we can somehow channel that into what a third game might employ. You know? See, like I mentioned before, this sky in 2300 looks terrible. This is like traditional 2300 sky. I don't think 2300 would be so bad in the new timeline. It would definitely look somewhat similar to this. As we mentioned, you see it out here. You can see it behind in these windows. The sky's kind of white. Pretty white outside. So it's hard to say. At any rate, that's why we used Robot Village. That's why we used pretty much all the stuff. And then we also got some names from Crimson Echoes, like the Dragon Tank and Luther and Renault, who remembers the Dragon Tank. I mean, not Dragon Tank, Vision Serpent. Luther and Renault are on Dragon Tank, but the Vision Serpent is a name from Crimson Echoes. So this is a scene from Crimson Echoes where Chrono goes nuts and kills two reptiles. Which, crazy scene. So, some might wonder, what could push Chrono so far? But anyway, we used that on the, I don't know if I can find the file right now. Hold on. Here it is. So in the introduction of Old Chrono, thought it'd be really helpful to have an unhinged Chrono. So we put in the scene from Crimson Echoes down there where he takes out the reptites. Okay, there's one other thing we wanted to talk about today, and that is the check this out. So you're in 1020 and your party is Shala and Migo and Gigi. But you may have noticed that Migo and Gigi are only on one tag. They're only in one party character tag together. So that brings up the idea of these bonded characters. And the bonding system in general. Okay, forget about that for now. The bonding system could be like Migo and Gigi just never leave. They're double techs. There's advantages and disadvantages, obviously. If you bond two characters, they will dual techs will really go up. I haven't really thought about it yet, but it's an interesting thing to consider when you have a game with like 30 units. Oh, I never really got around to talking about the cave people again. But as well as those characters we mentioned before, we also have a healthy amount of Isla's cave people with us too. Oh, here we go. Perfect. All right, so let's take it from the top. First, you got traditional Luca and the Magus variant that I told you about. Then Shala, Marl, Chrono. Now that looks like old Chrono to me because he's a little bit darker colored and he's scowling. Then Luca, Guru of Reason down there. Case, Ray, Raikou, Bob, Chrono, our Chrono, who should not have the Arbiter sign on him, by the way. That's an accident. Cyrus, Robo, Ho, Drake, Magus, Frog. What I'd like to do is find the... Found it. Here we go. This is back to the cutting room floor. So we're going with the theory that the collective unconscious has already made Chrono Trigger 2. And it involved all of these pieces that got left on the cutting room floor. So we're going to put them all together, and that way there will have been no wasted effort. We're not actually expending effort to make this game. We're cashing out on effort that was already put in. So here's a list of the names that were not used in Final Fantasy VI. Torque, Jade, Custer, Fabian, Drake, Sarah, Case, Seal, Ray, Riker, Lance, Bob, Pepper, Tao, Victor, Ho. So first, I think I took all of the Japanese ones. Yeah, these are the ones I used first, and then kind of switched them out. And then we ended up with, yeah, Toruku became Torque. Kasu became Custer. Pita became Pepper, although I'm willing to look the other way and call her Pita sometimes. It's just too cool. Biku became Victor because Biku, I don't know, I think I changed it because I felt like even though they're cavemen, their names shouldn't look like caveman names. I don't know, Drake and Victor just sounded cooler than Biku and Deku to me. But you know what? Name who you like. And also it's important to note that Leah's old. Okay, then we get a run through of them with the good names. But there are a couple of standouts. Let's see, Jado, change the spelling. Ransu, sometimes called Lance. They all have their kind of personality. Like, for instance, Fabian, I went looking through and found like Gasper's hat. So Fabian has Gasper's hat. All right. I think, you know, we could even get... Oh, yes. Okay. Avert your eyes. There we go. Animated. That's Fabian. Ransu / Lance got kind of she got promoted to being like an Healy kind of one. I don't know, she got sparkles. So she's got sparkles. That's probably should be talking to someone. Custer's got a ponytail, among other things. She's also kind of bigger. Now keep in mind, this is just one generation. This is just one. Every time you start the game, you get a random selection of cave people. Sometimes they're called Drake, sometimes they're called Deku, who knows. But in addition to the 13 classics that you get, in addition to these 13 classics, plus your variants, or what is it, 14? In addition to these 14, which is just the original 7 plus 7, I just noticed that. Then you also get 13 to 14 tribes people, which are essentially just Ayla 2. And it's important to point out that each member of the tribe has random stats to make every game unique. Are they Ioka or Laruba, which is sort of a strength versus speed dynamic? What are their native techs when you get them, which is not such a big deal since they'll learn fast. And what's their weapon type? Now, you know, like cave people, it's probably going to all be fist, right? Everyone you think would maybe be fist. But I don't know. I think we can definitely add gun because they were fighting with like advanced laser guns from the future for a while there. If you haven't checked it out yet, the movie on our channel, The Dusk of Time, is pretty in-depth, explains like why they would know how to use guns. So that's a 3-parter, but that explains their gun usage. And then maybe also, I think it'd be cool to like pair them up. You know, maybe they all start with hand and gun, and then you can assign them to hang out with someone. Like maybe you're like, Torque, why don't you hang out with Frog and you can learn how to use a sword. I don't know how assigning the random weapon types would really work for the cave people yet, but I think it opens up a lot of fun possibilities. Where the original squad is actually just training a new generation that also plays with you. And they're already super strong because they're cave people and such and so forth. That's where I'm going with on that one. Who else do we have? Just had Bob up there. And Raikou, she kind of got designated like... She got designated the sword one. And you can see, like I was mentioning, this is just quote unquote my generation. If I was playing this game and playing this game would be, you know, the what's it called? This project is like the first playing of the game, then my particular composition of cave people would look like this. But it might look something totally different for everyone else. So Drake has like butterflies around him. Pepper's got hearts. So I happen to get a lot of Laruba ladies, right? Tao, I like this guy. Oops, sorry, I got two of them. So, you know, you do have to use your imagination, especially for these two, to think, all right, how would those guys who are playing instruments, they don't even have legs, how are they going to be fighters? But, you know, I think it's totally possible. They don't have to look like this. This was just the assets we were given from Chrono Trigger. And who else do we have? Did I mention Torque? He's a weird one. All right, so let's go back to that photo booth thing. So here's where you get your picture taken, and Torque goes up to get his picture taken, and you can see he's got like this specter that follows him around. So when he gets his picture taken, then it actually ends up being the specter's photo that comes out. Isn't that spooky? I think it's spooky. So that's how we get our mini pictures. We take the photos there. Oh yeah. Back to the... Dude, he's massive. Look at all these purple-haired people. Good golly. Oh, you know what? Now that I've just mentioned the purple hair, it's time to come forth with some hard truths. All right, here's what I thought about. Here's a theory that I had. It's like, imagine you're in the kingdom of Zeal. Okay, why do we need a theory? We need a theory because we need to reconcile why was... Let's see. I want to show you something. We all know at the end of Chrono Cross, when we freed Shala from the Time Devourer, she was blonde. And also... Okay, this is not the video. At the end of Chrono Trigger, there she is. All right, we see Shala, right? Okay, and this picture doesn't actually show very well that she has blonde hair. But some of the other ones do. And also, we see she has blonde hair when she's attached to the Time Devourer. And also, Kid has blonde hair. So... And she's Shala's clone. So we can sort of... Chrono Cross throws us this wild pitch of, guess what? Shala's hair is actually yellow. And it's like, well, why? Why? When in Chrono Trigger, which is, the established canon, it's like she had blue hair. I mean, that's not the same sprite. Here, this is traditional Shala. See? This is... This Shala sprite is by Justin 3000. But anyway, you can see her hair is blue, right? So the question is why? And so the theory that I came up with to make it fit, like I said, I'm not trying to add ideas, I'm just trying to connect the dots. So I thought of, what if the people of Zeal, the kingdom of Zeal, through, whatever historical records or whatever, considered themselves to be of the, Laruba persuasion. Or for some reason, they view the original Laruba hair as being like special or something like that. And so this ancient cultural tradition they have is just to color their hair purple in all formal ceremonies. Even if at the end of the day, the Laruba sort of like, the purple hair wasn't the dominant? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But at any rate, that's my theory to try to think of why Shala would be blonde in Chrono Cross and blue-haired in Chrono Trigger. Is that the Zealians have an ancient dyeing ritual for, not dyeing, but hair dyeing ritual for whatever reason that dates back to their knowledge of the Laruba. Because the Laruba also have purple hair. I don't think that's so far-fetched. So that would explain why Shala's got blonde hair natively. And also, like, she's part of Marl and Ayla's line. So they both have blonde hair too. So it actually makes, I don't know, if you want to consider hair to be the ultimate decider in like your genetics or whatever, then it makes more sense for Chrono Cross Shala, because she would have blonde hair if she came from Ayla and also then made Marl later. But like, hair color is not the end all be all of genetics, as we have. Hold on, I'm just looking for Gigi or Migo. I'm not sure which one would be Migo and which one would be Gigi. But Migo and Gigi are the inseparable couple. More purple-haired people. I did not realize how many. I think we're going to have to check who actually does not have purple hair. Okay. Tao does not have purple hair. Drake does not have purple hair. Leah does not have purple hair. Case does not have purple hair. Whoops. Okay, Tao, Leah, Case, Fabian, Lance, Jado. Jado does not have purple hair. Torque does not have purple hair. Raikou does have purple hair. The Reptite vision entity that haunts him does have purple hair. Then Victor, and I don't even know who that is. That's a new one that I don't even know. They both have purple. Okay, so it looks like there's a lot of people with purple hair. There's a lot of Laruba, so this would be a very fast crew. If you see a bunch of purple hair when you start, then you're thinking, wow, okay, this is going to be super speedy. Speaking of super speedy, I just hit an hour and I just ran out of things to talk about, so I will catch you for the next one. Look for Piezo Steak to be released, uploaded tomorrow. And that will be the 3rd anniversary of part 3 of what could Chrono Break be like, which is essentially the Dusk of Time retelling that I mentioned. So it's just important to... Okay, I've totally messed up. I was trying to plug that video, but I messed up. Anyway, if you want to watch the backstory to this, look up the Dusk of Time on the channel. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow or the next time.